Stephen Antalik, 737 Ridge. I want to thank Mary because she set me up. Now, here's why. 3 questions. Who has the best sense of community pride? Answer, citizens. Who would have a greater sense of community pride? Citizens who work within a city. Who would have possibly diminished sense of community by, that could be employees who don't live in the city. What Mary said is profoundly on target. An example, a citizen who lived in the city and worked for the city, classical is Charlie Brown. And for his civic responsibility and his love of the city, he's been memorialized. Now, when you have people living as far as Tamaqua, Lehighton, Penargil, or Percy, 5 o'clock they go home. In the morning, to come back to work. Now, if some of these people are in a responsible position, they don't get a sense of community. Plus, if any of these people who are living outside of the city, up to 20 to 35, 40 miles, if they're using city transportation by vehicle, they're incurring a cost. And if it takes them a half hour to get to the city, it's an hour back and forth, so that discourages being in the city other than working time. Also discourages coming to the city on the weekends. 1962, an ordinance was passed requiring residents to live in the city, especially department heads. This was revoked in 1988, and I checked all the city council minutes, and there was no real good reason to have rescinded that ordinance. Hardship, that was the main reason, or they couldn't afford housing. But people who need to be in a city on short notice, firemen, police, emergency, the city needs to do a study as to where do these people live in relation to the city and how soon can they be in a city on an emergency basis. So I strongly, now, at the zoning hearing, at a zoning meeting the other week, one member of council made a very strong argument for what I'm saying. Because this gentleman said the fact that he lives on Butchtown Road and was aware of the problems existing on Butchtown because of zoning. Now, this gentleman lived in Ambler, PA. He wouldn't have that sense of community. But he's living in the problem that exists and brought it to the attention of the zoning people. Now, elected officials are required to be from the city. How about employees? I strongly urge for the best interest of the community to relook at the ordinance of 1962 and revoke the revocation of that ordinance. It was brought out in the minutes of council. There's no legal precedent. There's nothing says you can enforce that law. It's not said. And it was also brought out in the minutes that the majority of the communities have that requirement. So, I urge you to give this serious thought because A, when you have people working for the city and reflecting on city history and living outside of the city, that's a contradiction of fact. So, take it to heart, bite the bullet, and reinstitute ordinance of 1962 requiring residency. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? This meeting is adjourned.
Is there a second?